Hello everyone, welcome to Redbest US channel. In this video, we'll look at the latest immigration update, US immigration updates for the week of July 27th to August 1st for employment-based green card holders, including F1 visa holders. So this week, the main things we will cover are the domestic travel risk, where we have seen updates from New York Times and other attorneys who have been reporting about domestic travel risk for somebody with an expired I-94 and the permanent thing of US visa bond program that was made permanent, and also the 100K fee rumor that happened, and the visa slots and other things. So this is what we'll cover in this video. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, do subscribe for getting regular updates. We do this every week so that you can get all of this in a very short summary, so that you don't have to look at all of these things. Again, do subscribe. Let's get started. So this is the first big news. In fact, what's happening is it's been, basically it first was reported by, New York Times, where they really talked about quite a few things where ICE is actually stepping up on detaining travelers with expired I-94s. And the key issue is because ICE do not know some of the nuances of what is, somebody with an expired I-94 can still stay in the US. So a typical scenario could be is, somebody like, I don't know, H1B holder or an H4 holder, they apply for an extension, and after they apply, while they're waiting, they're and their I-94 expires, they're in a period of authorized stay. So that's called period of authorized stay, and it's perfectly legal for them to stay. That's what happens. As long as you have the receipt notice and that tells that you really applied when your I-94 was stay, and wait for that. So this is actually called period of authorized stay, even though technically you are out of status or don't have valid I-94. But this nuance is not really familiar with a lot of ICE, staff. Sometimes, what's happening is a TSA is getting some of this data from I-94 system, and they're either not in sync on what's happening. So people are being pulled for secondary inspection, and sometimes some of them are actually like let go after they show some of these things and explain after a lot of questioning. And in some cases, I think edge cases like one or two, we've just heard on some new from attorneys that they've been issued NTS as well. So again, it's very very specific, and it's a scenario where you say this, and in fact, it was covered extensively by New York Times. You can read that article so that you get more details on that. And again, they're targeting because essentially they have a target of about 2,000 kind of arrests or this kind of thing that they were given, and that is what is probably triggering them. So who is at risk, right? And who should avoid travel? So the high risk are people who are in kind of like a pending status. If you have I-94 expired, and let's say you're H1B L1, any of these people who applied for an extension, but your I-94 expired, then you're kind of in a risk in this kind of travel. And if you filed for adjustment of status and you're pending, or if you're waiting for an EAD, and kind of pending, or if you're spouses of US citizens pending green card, with pending green card, or asylum applicants awaiting decisions, right? So these are people, highly categorized. Especially the key thing is expired I-94. I think the main thing, right? That's what are the people who are high risk. And what could help, right? Physical copies is carry of your I-799 receipt that you really properly filed, and again carry your expired visa and your passport and all of that. Prior I-94 record, and the pay stubs that you're really in status. And also, most important thing, one more thing is, if you have a driving license with a real ID, just carry that, because nowadays real ID is only given when you basically have a valid visa, right? So having a real ID, valid real ID also is also helping in some cases. So that's why having all of these would be important. Again, this is something you really have to weigh in. If you have a pending application with USCIS and your I-94 expired, is it worth taking the risk and hassle and going through all this, or just waiting for that to get it approved and then travel, right? So yeah, it's a judgment call you'll have to make, depending on your scenario. But the whole idea is it's not very, I would say straightforward if you have an expired I-94. So just consult with an attorney and travel accordingly, unless it's really an emergency, right? So again, this is something we're seeing. So it's been covered extensively. So yeah, let's see what happens there, right? Again, the second one is the visa bond program. Now, this was actually, it was a temporary final rule that was published last year, and now they made it a final published rule. Essentially, it's going to be permanent. That's what it is. And again, this applies to only B1 beta, B1 B2 visa holders only for business and tourism, and it does not apply to F, H, L, J, or O, the green, all of these categories, right? And it's up to 50 countries designated. Many of them are African nations in the list. Again, the list is posted on travel.state.gov. You can look at the list and all of that, right? But India is not on the list, so this does not hit Indian, B1, B2 visa holders essentially. And the bond is refundable if you depart on time. And the bond looks like this, right? So the lower tier is anywhere $10,000 to $20,000, and the default amount is about $15,000, right? So what they say is, again, they'll adjust it every 7 years and things like that. Again, these are nuances how it will work. But the pilot program that they ran in the last I don't know, 6 to 8 months or whatever that time is, right? They say that the issuances from covered countries fell about 83% and overstays also reduced to under 50. So I guess that's why they're making it permanent. So we'll see how this comes out. But as of now, Indians are not impacted for this. So you can again keep looking at the TSA website where we have all these details and which countries are getting added and all of that. So the other big story that happened this week was there was a big rumor that there'll be $100,000 fee for getting an F1 OPT, and in fact we did a fact check video on this actual. So you can watch that video for complete details. It was one article that was reported by Wall Street Journal, and Bloomberg kind of added some more details and are telling that DHS is maybe considering something like this. That is, in fact, they just did not deny that was the main problem, right? They just said no policy is final and no, that's what they said. So that created like, just based on the one particular reporting, you got like 50 headlines and 50 top news papers across the globe, right? Be it India, or, China, or in Korea, everywhere you see this, and it's like kind of multiplied. So again, it's currently there's nothing that's in the Federal Register. There is nothing in even in the agenda. So there's nothing as of now. So again, just there's a lot of rumors. So let's see what happens. Again, as of now, there is nothing. So don't have to worry about this thing. So it's kind of identical to the H1B 100K fee program that was initially struck down and blocked in court, right? So again, if this ever comes in, it'll have to go through the process. So we'll see what comes out of it. But as of now, nothing to worry on that, right? Now, the last topic for this week is, usually we try to update these H1B, H4 visa slots. Again, unfortunately, this week also we don't have no any updates on that. Essentially, there are basically no slots. Yeah, so that's a short summary. And what's ongoing this week is the 100K fee we reported last week. The 100K fee was vacated on June 8th, and also the First Circuit Court last week. In fact, they also blocked that. So we are still waiting for USCIS guidance on that. So if a duration of status rule was finalized, and it starts on September 15th. So that's a big one. And the public charge rule was also rescinded, which was bad enough as one. That's the big one. H1B 20% cap reach. So these were from the last week, and they all remain unchanged, and they're in effect right now. So that's what it is, right? So in summary, right, key takeaways from this week are the airport enforcement is a story to watch, where if you have a pending application with USAS, and you're trying to travel and your INR expired, so you got to be careful, assess your travel, and then take that into consideration. If you have to travel, carry all the documents so that you have all of that to basically defend yourself or explain to the ICE officers, right? The second one is the visa bond pilot program that's finalized for B1, B2 up to 50 countries, and India is not on the list. So that's an important thing. And the 100K fee for H1 OPT is just a reported idea on Wall Street Journal, but nothing more than that. Don't panic watching that thing. So we did a fact check video. You can watch that for more details. No bulk slot release this week. For H1Bs and all of that. And if your B1, B2 Dropbox is your best route for eligible travelers, again, this for B1, B2 visas, right? September brings in real change, essentially where we have this F1 duration of status, and the public charge rules also come into the picture. Again, thank you for watching. These are the updates from this week. Do subscribe for getting regular updates.